Welcome to Voice Rising with Kara Johnstad. Enjoy weekly conversations with leading luminaries, pioneering visionaries, singers, poets, musicians, and sound healers as we explore the profound role our voice plays on the path to self-realization and global enlightenment. The internationally acclaimed singer, composer, author, healer, recording artist, voice expert, creator of Voice Your Essence, and founder of the School of Voice, Kara Johnstad uses her extraordinary spiritual gifts to empower others. Everything in this world vibrates. Everything has a frequency. A pioneer in the field of voice work and transformational songwriting. Her breakthrough methods are helping thousands of people worldwide fine-tune their body-mind-spirit system and unlock the energetic frequencies of limitless creativity, health, and abundance. Share your voice, ask your questions, join in the conversation. Receive life-changing, positive transformation and rise together to create a sound world. And here's your host, Kara Johnstad.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Voice Rising. Today, I am truly honored to be joined by poet, teacher, and writing facilitator Rosemerry Wahtola Trommer. Rosemary's new poetry collection, The Unfolding, invites us into a world where the beauty and wonder of living wholeheartedly emerge even amidst loss. Written after the heartbreaking deaths of her son and father, this collection is a tapestry of paradox, both somber and playful, broken-hearted and uplifting. In her work, Rosemerry wades deep in the pain of the world and finds in its rubble surprising and honest invitations to praise and celebrate life. Rosemary's poetry has been featured on platforms like A Prairie Home Companion, PBS, NewsHour, O Magazine, Carnegie Hall. She is also the first poet laureate for Evermore, a role in which she helps others explore grief, wonder, and love through poetry. And today we'll explore her latest work and how, through the act of writing, Rosemerry uncovers the sacred connections that bind us all, even in the darkest times. Welcome, Rosemerry, to Voice Rising.
Hello, Kara. I'm so glad to be back with you.
It's beautiful, isn't it? I was saying this before we went on air that I tend to have Rosemerry close to me on the show around the holiday season because it's always a time that I'm reaching for one of her books of poetry, and we're very lucky that you brought out a new collection called The Unfolding. So first of all, congratulations. It's a gorgeous cover. Yeah, it looks like, I don't know, like a really deep, beautiful pink that we can just dive into.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And the cover actually thrills me, Kara. It is a deep pink, and it has these kind of very difficult to interpret red marks on it that are fluid. They could be flowers, or they're very female. They're very, even maybe they look a little like blood even perhaps, but
yeah.
I love that I don't know what they are.
Yeah, which is a little bit the mystery that you're always inviting us to explore. You open The Unfolding with this deeply personal reflection on grief, love, and loss. You share with anybody who's holding that book in their hands a bit more about the untimely death of your son, and your father also passed away. So how did this collection of poetry, how was it shaped through that loss, and how does that grief basically shape your writing today?
Mm-hmm. You know, and not just my writing, right? But everything. And I think that's true probably for anyone who undergoes a great grief, which is all of us. It changes us. It changes who we are. It changes the way we meet the world. All of the poems in The Unfolding have been written since August of 2021 when my son died. My father died then in November. And what's interesting to me about it is I wouldn't say that it's a book about grief.
Mm-hmm.
although it is steeped in grief, for sure. All these poems have been written out of this time of what it is to, I suppose, lose what we thought we knew about who we were, about the world. There's this incredible unmasking, undressing of the self that happens, that we just lose track of the things that we thought were important, and suddenly the only thing that feels important anymore, I think, is love, is our relationship to the people who we love that we've lost, to the people who we love who are still here. And I love that clarity. And I think these poems are born out of that kind of a clarity, so that it's not only the sorrow, but also so much love, so much gratefulness for love, for life itself, to have a body that's that kind of fragility and that kind of ephemerality, when it gets pointed out to us just how fragile it is. There's this chance to be more fully embracing who we are, what it is to be alive. And so the poems come out of that. How do we show up now? How do we show up in the world with all of its grief and all of its beauty and all of its heartache and all of its bliss? How do we show up again and again and again? So I say that the poems are written in the key of grief. The melody is praise.
The key of grief and the melody is praise. And when I was reading it, there was an invitation there to just say yes to all that is, right? Which is exactly what you're saying. Like, say yes to the broken, and say yes to the intense beauty. Say yes to being able to be many things at the same time. Like to have the heart be that big, which I think is really beautiful, because I say it often when I'm coaching voice. You don't have to be only sad. You can be sad and joyful at the same time. And that is what comes over, or for me, when the thing that's so beautiful about books, which is a little bit different about like all the streaming platforms, but you also, I guess, have this as a ebook or as a Kindle. But what's so beautiful about books is that you can hold your book and be with it in the kitchen while eating scrambled eggs, or you can be with the book, which is then all these beautiful poems, next to your bed, or you can walk with it and take it to the forest. It's so beautiful to have it with us and be able to have those words of what's it like if we would say yes to. There's some poem in the book, just you're walking down a street, and basically, if I remember this correctly, you got your sunglasses and your hat, and maybe you don't want to talk to anybody on that day, but still you're in community and you're kind of enjoying being in life. You have to go buy your groceries.
Yeah. And I think anybody who's been in grief knows what that's like. You have to still engage with the world, right? You don't completely hide out. Although I did a lot of hiding out.
You did a lot of hiding out?
I did. It was hard to interact. It was.
Yeah.
I think the poem you're talking about is called "The Naked Heart Goes into Town."
Oh yeah, the naked heart. Yeah.
Yeah, and that was what it felt like, especially in those first months, almost the whole first year. I just felt so naked. Like there's a line in the poem that says, "All those other hearts are wearing so much skin," and meanwhile, I remember it felt like I just was. I had no buffer. I had no protection at all, nor did I want any. Let's be clear that I didn't necessarily think this was a problem. In fact, if anything, there was an incredible gift to that kind of openness, that kind of spaciousness. And in fact, Kara, when I would go see any kind of massage therapist or my acupuncturist or anybody, some energy workers, anybody who offered me help, they would say, how can I help you? And I would say, open me, open me. That was my constant prayer. Just let me be open. Let me feel all of this. I didn't want to shut down. I didn't want to protect myself. I wanted to really experience everything that I was feeling, which was so painful and also so beautiful at the same time.
Yeah. Would you read for us, Rosemerry, the poem called The Prayers, so that the listeners can get a taste of your magic?
It's the perfect one for the conversation we were just having. Good job. Okay. Maybe I'll just mention that this does talk about that open me prayer, which began for me maybe at least 10 years before this happened. It occurred to me, this prayer opened me, and the prayers. When I asked the world to open me, I did not know the price. When I wrote that 2-word prayer in the sand, I did not know loss was the key, devastation the hinge. Trust was the dissolution of the idea of a door. When I asked the world to open me, I could never have said yes to what came next. Perhaps I imagined the waves knew only how to carry me. I did not imagine they would also pull me under. When I asked the world to open me, I had not imagined drowning was the way to reach the shore. The waves of sorrow dragged me down with their tides of unthinkable loss. The currents emptied my pockets and stripped me of my ideas. I was rolled and eroded and washed up on the sand like driftwood, softened. I sprawled there and wept, astonished to still be alive. It is not easy to continue to pray this way. Open me. And yet, it is the truest prayer I know. The other truest prayer, though sometimes I long to reject its truth, is thank you.
Yeah, it's this complete surrender to what is. I mean, what is so fascinating is that we know from our own life experience that grief is different for everyone at every moment. You know, some people they pull back. Some people need to go towards people. Some people need to go into silence. Some people fall into depression. And yet, what's so fascinating is, even though it's very different, it's so collectively connected. Like there's a universal connection. And that is, I think that is so beautiful, is that when you said it so well in prayers, open me. And the other thing you say so well is, this book is not about grief, it's about praise and gratitude. And we forget that sometimes when we're diving deep and drowning. And yet it's important that we drowned, because if we get told by other people, well, you should be grateful, then we didn't catch it. You know what I'm saying? It's so important that we're allowed to drown. It's like, I don't know, because I've suffered loss before in my life, and somebody comes and tells me, yeah, but you should be grateful, which is true. But it kind of tries to put frosting on the cake before you figured out what the cake was,
Oh, yeah. And that's just a great example, I think, Kara, of all the things that people say that don't work for us, right? I think this is one of the difficult things about grief, is that when we see someone who's hurting, we long to help them.
Yeah.
But instead of just being with them and however they are, as you say, it's so different for each person, and it's so different for each person from moment to moment. So instead of, I do know that for me, the greatest gift has been when people just sit with me in wherever I am, without trying to change it or fix it or offer platitudes,
right.
or just to be with someone who's in their grief is really, I think, the greatest gift we could give them, as opposed to, oh, you should be grateful.
Yeah.
Oh, are you kidding? Like, if not right now. That's not, maybe eventually gratefulness, but not now. And I think that one of the biggest gifts that I gave myself, and it happened early on actually, was when I started to interact with people, and they would say things sometimes always well-intentioned, right? But they would say, and we all know what people say, oh, they're better off now, or whatever they say, things like these, oh, you should just be grateful. Really? So I did trust that there was not a single person who was wishing me ill. I really believed that everyone loved me, cared about me, and wanted to help. And so with that trust, I was able to reinterpret and just translate absolutely everything that anyone said into, I love you. They could say anything, they could say nothing, they could do something or not do something, but everything, I just rewrote it in my mind as, I love you. And that got me through. And just translation.
You love to play with words, and you kind of organize this book in 4 sections, right? With these words that you created while playing in your sandbox or at your writing desk or walking in the mountains. The first one opens with a word called Verulia. Talk to us about the blending of different different word stems or word sources.
Kara, this is so much fun. In part because I long to have words that somehow spoke to, touched the breadth of experience. And I felt like praise itself was just a little too heavy. It doesn't seem to have all the nuance that you were talking about earlier. And so I thought, okay, make them up, sweetheart. And there is a book that I was inspired by. It's the Dictionary of Obscure Sorrows by John Koenig, and I love this book, in which he creates blended words like I did for this book, where you just take roots from it could be from different languages, and just put them together to achieve whatever your goal is, to create this more nuanced idea of what it is to be alive. And so the Verulia comes from veritas, truth in Latin, plus alleluia. And to me, this is the praise that rises up when we are in this state of raw, naked honesty, and we can align with the vast mystery of life as it is, instead of clinging to our story about how we think life is supposed to be. And but I wanted it this way. So there is such beauty in just saying yes to the world as it is. We put ourselves immediately into alignment, and we stop struggling with that whole layer of, but I wanted, but I wish. And when that's gone, that freedom then, that, and I'll even say the vulnerability then, because we may not like the way things are. But when we really bring ourselves into that communion, like in that poem that we just shared, the prayers, yes, what's happening now is I'm drowning. And if I stop trying to pretend I'm drowning and just let myself drown, there's a beauty in it, even though it's not fun, it's not lovely. I'm not saying that anyone would choose it, but there is the purity of experience and the beauty of being in alignment with what is.
Yeah, yeah. Read for us from the unfolding this beautiful, beautiful again, edgy, raw, beautiful. Though I knew love before.
Okay.
Love in its raw form, I wrote here.
Though I knew love before. Not until my world dissolved in an instant did I begin to understand the communion of hearts. Not until I could not put 1 minute in front of the next did I begin to understand infinite devotion. Not until I lost my own flesh did I begin to understand the muscle of spirit. I will never love the loss, never, but I love the life that rushes in after. I love the intimacy of those who have lost, how we find each other and offer our open embrace, our unwalled affection, our wildest wishes for peace. Not until I was consumed by the great wave of love did I know not to fear the great wave of love. Only then did I learn the beauty of ceding self to something much greater. Only then did I learn how love not only carries us, it transforms who we are forever.
I have to be careful not to drift away when I have your voice in my ears. There's a part of me that wants to go deeper and deeper, and then I remind myself that we are live on air. Not until I lost my own flesh did I begin to understand the muscle of spirit. There's so many beautiful and strong images in this poem. I had to think, sometimes I say that intimacy for me is to be in time. It seems like when you meet somebody and you're both in the same breath of time, there's an intimacy. And it's when people are, meeting you and they're somehow running to the future or stuck in the past, it's harder. But when you're both in that rawness, that fragile beauty, there's that intimacy that happens. There's another line there. I will never love the lost, never, but I love the life that rushes in after. Right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What would you?
Which we know, right? I mean, we know that feeling, right? It's like it's all of it at once. It's this horror and this beauty and body. It's so unable to engage in it all at once, right? I feel like it's the perfect recipe for losing the stories we thought we knew, and it becomes so expansive in that moment, right? When we're like, all of this, like it breaks the vessel.
Yeah. We saw this in North Carolina this year, right? They get smashed by these. I mean, in other places too have wildfires and have storms and everything, but it was very clear that they're smashed by these unexpected storms. They never in their life thought they were in a flood zone, and suddenly you see neighbors making coffee, reaching out, rebuilding, breath by breath, step by step, trying to move rotten wood away and opening their campers to sleep in the back. And it's just, it's pretty stunning what we can do when we do say yes to being in the space of gratitude, praise, and being okay with what we look like. We look like sometimes a heap of a mess when we go through loss.
Yeah.
We're like.
Yes, and I think it's not easy to say yes to. In fact, I think that a lot of times we would rather say no. I mean, I think that there was a moment that this poem touches on it too. Kara, when it was the day after Finn died, and I was outside on a street that he and I had just been walking on, together.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember I was standing there in the middle of the street, and I remember truly feeling this great wave of love. Let's just say it was like a tsunami. It was many stories tall, and I felt it coming at me. And I felt like it energetically, what I thought was, oh my God, everyone is finding out about what has happened, and they're all sending love. And I felt it in this. And it was like this energetic presence, this huge wave that was coming toward me down the street. And I remember turning toward it, and everything in my body said, no, that is way too much.
Yeah.
And this great wave of love did not care. It just came and crashed over me anyway. And then carried me. And that's what I was trying to get across in this poem, was the sense of, I actually would have said no. I tried to say no, and the wave would have nothing to do with it, right? It was like love just like obliterating my no and opening me up and carrying me after that to this day.
Yeah. Yeah. We're going to take a short...
And as you...
No, I was just going to say, I was actually going to say, let's just tune in, all of us, like put our hands on our heart and feel this love that abounds everywhere, and then just take a very, very short break, and then we'll be back with much more readings, more love, more vulnerability, more everything, more Rosemerry Wahtola Trommer.
Conscious media for conscious minds. OMTimes.
Ascending Hearts is no ordinary dating site, but a spiritual dating site with a purpose, to link you with your soulmate. We engineer the serendipity so you can trust that you will attune with someone that has the same matching vibration as you. Ascending Hearts, the conscious dating site for the spiritually aware. Try Ascending Hearts for free. ascendinghearts.com.
With happy clients all over the world, Kara Johnstad knows that your voice is the missing link to more authenticity, abundance, creativity, and health. An internationally acclaimed voice expert, Kara's breakthrough methods have helped thousands of people successfully heal their voice wounds and extinguish the story of self-doubt and shyness forever. Join in group trainings, attend online sessions, schedule one-on-one time, and invite Kara to work with your organization and community. Get started today. Go to www.karajohnstad.com and receive a special guided meditation designed to fine-tune your inner voice and welcome you on the voice journey. Host your show on IOM-FM, the radio network of OMTimes Media, one of the more recognized brand names in the conscious community, and is backed by the extensive marketing reach of OMTimes. Hosting a show on IOM-FM immediately connects you with our extensive dedicated community.
You came across someone struggling with hunger. How would you recognize them? Would you notice an 8-year-old girl who's not excited for summer break
because she may not be having lunch again until September?
Or a war veteran who's having a hard time landing a job
and getting back on his feet?
I am the 1 in 8 Americans who struggle with hunger. I am hunger in America.
Hunger can be hard to recognize. Learn why at IamHungerInAmerica.org. Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
Welcome back to Voice Rising. A huge thank you to our listeners for supporting the show. And if you're enjoying today's conversation with Rosemerry Wahtola Trommer, we invite you to share this episode with all your lovely friends and community. And be sure to subscribe on your favorite streaming platform to never miss an inspiring conversation, because we are committed to bringing you more incredible guests who are offering wisdom, creativity, and healing, and helping us shift harm to harmony, and I guess I would say navigate this beautiful life with good vibes, whatever that may mean, being raw and open and one with what is. So welcome back, Rosemerry, to the show.
Thank you, Kara. Actually, literally, welcome back. Somehow my phone got kicked off, but I'm
wow.
Right back.
Nice. Perfect. Yeah, I guess it was like what people used to do when there were ads on TV. They used to run to the kitchen and get some popcorn or something. So
Right.
your phone was telling you like time for a little break. Yeah. Um, I'm kind of curious. I know that you do sing. You love to sing, and of course, you love speaking and sharing your gifts. You are a teacher of writing. You do workshops, and then you are someone who's writing a poem a day. So you know the sound of a pen, or I'm not sure. I'm assuming you're writing with a pen. Maybe you're writing with a pencil, but the sound it makes moving across paper. I I'm assuming, it's an assumption, that when grief walks in such a harsh way, that the first thing to go is the singing voice, that it's hard for us to sing. And sometimes it might be hard for us even to speak. But what is it that makes writing such a powerful tool for so many people to try to get the inexpressible into some kind of a flow or inky mess on a paper, that this need to express what's inside when we don't feel logical, or we don't feel always that somebody might understand our incomplete sentences, or everything that can happen when we go through these difficult times. What is this writing practice that you've been mastering all these days? Like, how did it show up for you?
Yeah. Well, one thing that's really interesting to me, Kara, is that I have had, as you mentioned, a daily writing practice since 2006, every day. And when Finn died, I didn't write for, well, it was exactly 7 weeks, 49 days. And I wasn't worried about that, by the way. Like that,
Yeah.
I thought, well, when I write again, I will. Part of the reason that I stopped writing was because I wanted to give myself over completely to the experience of being alive with grief. Right? It wasn't.
Yeah.
When we write, we solidify things in a way. And
Yeah.
I didn't want anything to be solidified. I wanted to just really experience it. And this is one of my favorite things, by the way, about writing, is that it allows us to be at the same time an experiencer and a witness. When I'm writing a poem, I'm writing about the experience, so I'm witnessing the experience. Also, then it becomes its own. It gets so meta, but it becomes its own experience then of what is experienced through the writing of it. But so I think that I just want to point out that I want to honor that there is a time maybe for not writing. At least that was true for me. But then when I did start writing, I was also so grateful for it, in part because one thing that it did was it allowed me to see how different it was every day. It allowed me to see just how not stuck it was. One of the, and I do this little exercise every time I teach a grief writing class. I invite everyone to write this phrase: today grief is, and then fill in the blank. There are so many ways to do this, right? You could fill it in with an adjective. Today grief is lonely. Today grief is comfortable. Today grief, you could fill it in any way, but you could also fill it in with any word that would invite a metaphor. Today grief is an earthworm. Today grief is a chair. However you fill this in, it has something to teach you. Oh, really? How is grief an earthworm? Well, that poem is actually in this book, Limburgus terrestris. But how did, and so it invites a curiosity about what is here now, and it also allows me to see, oh my gosh, it isn't the same as what was here yesterday. It isn't the same as what was here 5 minutes ago. And I think this is helpful because sometimes in grief we can become very stuck and think it's not, it's always going to be like this. Well, it may stay like that, but but one beautiful gift that writing offered me was seeing, oh, it changes and it changes and it changes. I change and I change and I change. So this was interesting. And then I think the other thing was just, like I said, that just to stay curious.
Yeah.
What's here? What's here? What's here? And I feel like that curiosity is what allows it to have a full spectrum of experience, not just the grief, but also the joy, not just the heartache, but also this kind of throbbing beauty, that curiosity is what keeps us open to accessing all this wide range of emotions.
And you also have, because it's so, like you said, it's I don't want to say it's easy, but it's you lost your son and you lost your father, and you have a wonderful husband, and you have, I believe, 2 wonderful daughters, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And you also then share in this book, like, just, again, sitting in those moments of trying to, feel into how to experience beauty and joy and laughter and pain and navigate all of that depth, which I think is very important, because it's, life goes on, right? I mean, life goes on. Your husband and you still have to, I think there's one poem which made me smile. You're dusting the piano, and I can't remember what he's doing. I remember you're dusting the piano. It's kind of like, like he's making the coffee and I'm, whatever, putting the dishes in the dishwasher. And it's that, I mean, everybody who's lived in a marriage knows that it's sometimes that's how it is. One person's hanging the wash while the other one's taking out the trash. And yet there's a connection. There's a breathing together through it and embracing life for what it is, which is wonderful. Read, I want to get to as many poems as we can. I'm just so greedy to hear your voice. I'm just so thirsty. Greedy's the wrong word, thirsty. I'm gonna say thirsty. Read for us The Medicine of Surrender. The medicine of surrender. It sounds like a good medicine to have, better than aspirin. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
This phrase, the medicine of surrender, I got it from Mirabai Starr, who has a beautiful community for grief called Holy Lament. And so I just want to honor that this was her phrase she gave out as an idea, the medicine of surrender, and then right from that. The medicine of surrender comes with no spoonful of sugar, no promises, no backup plans, no returns, no insurance. The medicine of surrender never tastes the way you expect, never tastes the same next time, seldom has the hoped-for effect. And if there is some part of you that thinks it might not be affected, that thinks it might hold back, that part is most likely the first part to be flooded with the relentless truth of what is. Oh, surrender, the surest medicine that exists. There are infinite side effects. Wonder, freedom, rawness. It's like opening the dictionary to the word heaven or obliteration and knowing it's the same thing. It's like playing spin the bottle with life, and you French kiss whatever you get. It's the only remedy that can help you be whole, the only real medicine there is.
It reminded me, there's a meditation called the Yes Meditation, where you commit to 24 hours of just saying yes. And it's a little bit like that. It's like, do you want to go to the movies? Yeah. You want to have some Chinese food? Yeah. And you're praying that the person across from you is not going to think of something crazy like, do you want to jump off the cliff? Or, do you want to French kiss the donkey or whatever? It's like, not really. Well, you committed to yes. It's a yes meditation. But there's something very beautiful when we just, if somebody wants to eat Chinese, you're like, yeah. Or, do you want to eat, and not talk about like, well, actually, I, don't eat that, and I don't eat stir-fried rice, and I don't do that, and I only eat that until 6 p.m. And just to say, yeah. The essence of surrender.
Finn and I used to joke about this, that I would have a day that I would only say yes. Because he was like, Mom, you why do you have to say no? So I'm going to have days where I only say yes, but I will not tell you when they.
I'm surprised.
It's so sweet. You just I had completely forgotten about that, but thank you for reminding me of that.
Yeah, just say yes. Exactly.
Well, and
Mom, can I take the car? Yes, Mom. Yes, exactly. If he knew it, right? Hey, Mom, can you give me your credit card?
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
I will say though that after he died, it was so clear to me that yes was a little too exuberant, maybe a lot too exuberant for what I was feeling. What I was very aware of was that I said okay, and I became aware of it because I literally was saying okay to every single thing I was doing. I'd say okay, I'd open the door, okay, walk outside, okay, and in this way, I loved the word. I felt like okay saved me because it wasn't yes, but it wasn't no, and I feel like the medicine of surrender was a little bit more like okay. I didn't want it, but I didn't reject it either.
Yeah. Medicine has some. I can't remember. I researched this once that the origin of the word medicine is to keep ourselves healthy. It's not these little tablets that we take. It's like exactly that, the lifestyle that we need to stay in harmony or to stay in balance, right? So it would be kind of cool, though, to have like little surrender tablets in your pocket, little cough drops like called surrender or something. You should market this, like Rosemary's surrender drops, it was Rosemary surrender lemon drops, for your everyday, whenever you're in that moment and you're thinking like, oh, I don't know, I feel like, it's like, oh, pop a drop and surrender. It's okay.
I think you're so right. They would have to be lemon drops so that they would be both bitter and sweet at the same time. That they would have to be that.
They could even be, who knows, nettle drops. I'm somebody who eats, I eat dandelion greens and even the yellow part of the dandelion flower in pancakes. And it's really pretty. And it's very beautiful. You can try it in the springtime. Try it. Who knows? Yeah.
I think dandelion pancakes sounds amazing.
It's really sweet. Dandelion pancakes. You can eat dandelions, and when you see the little yellow, feathery blossoms, which I used to make, we used to weave them into these beautiful crowns, and then we'd sometimes say, do you like butter? And then we'd take a dandelion and rub it underneath the chin, and then suddenly the bottom of the chin is yellow, and you're like, yeah, you like butter.
Yeah, you like butter.
You like butter. So now I make pancakes with them, and I'll send you a picture. They look beautiful. For everyone out there, if you don't know anything else to do with your Sunday morning, and it's springtime, and the dandelions are going crazy in your lawn, leave them. Let them be dandelions. And if some of them surrender, then pick them up, and just the blossoms make that, not the stems. The stems have a very bitter juice, just the blossoms, or the leaves you can eat too, right? Anyway, one last poem. You have so many good poems. I mean, maybe I get one last one in here. Although we could do one that's fun. I for some reason I did for the one who was gone, which is very beautiful. You can choose either that one or this one that I talked about, which I can't remember the name, but the one where you take the Finnish word and hang out at home half drunk. So you can decide. Yeah.
Okay. Well, maybe we should do.
Or you can do both.
One, just because we haven't done.
I know, right?
The book is full of, I would say, both poems that are, difficult and loving, and also just some that are just plain silly. And I would put kalsarikäni in that. And it's also it's a word that's a compound word from Finland, kalsarikäni, which isn't a real Finnish word, although it does exist. It is in their dictionary, but it is kind of like a created word, which means loosely something like the feeling when you're going to go get drunk home alone in your underwear and you have no intention of going out.
That's right. And you hope nobody's going to ring the doorbell.
And if they do, you probably won't answer.
That's right.
This is kalsarikäni. Let's say a woman worked in the garden all day, pulling up old kale and bolted chard and harvesting potatoes and garlic and onions. And let's say her whole evening plan is to stay home and shower and not get dressed and sip on a glass of wine or whiskey until she is sweetly lightheaded. Well, wouldn't it be lovely if there were a word to describe her aspirations? A word she could write in her calendar to be sure no other loud plans swooped in. A word she could say if her friends called and asked what was happening tonight. And if no one should call, she could say it to herself. For the joy of saying it, kalsarikäni. And she'd toast the air, clinking her glass against all that isn't there. And the wind on her skin, so brisk. And the wine, so heady, so dry.
All I want to do is crack open a bottle now and strip down. Exactly. Oh, you get so many good pictures in your head just thinking of all, there's so many great pictures also in Finland of, the winter time and it's freezing cold and then there they are in the sauna and they run out of the sauna buck naked into their, icy water lake and then come back and have some warm wine. And life is that simple. And I think that, it's just so beautiful. The book Unfolding, which again, everybody out there, it's, it doesn't matter what time of year it is, but it is like right before Christmas. I can just say, even if it was after Christmas and someone's going to have Valentine's Day or someone's going to have a birthday, right? Rosemerry, your new book is so stunning because it's like all shades of pink, all shades of heart, all shades of, I wanted to say all shades of gray, but we can't say that. So all shades of pink. It's these metaphors. You do say somewhere like the power of a metaphor. Share with us how we can weave more metaphors into our life so that we can get different perspectives on things. Like you were saying that like grief is today like a chair or blue, or my love for you is like a tomato, or how?
Yeah. So I do have a couple of ideas for how to bring these metaphors in and make them a little more curious and real. And one of them is, you could take a phrase like that, today grief is, but you could just take any other word like today joy is, today marriage is, today, whatever it is that you feel like exploring, and then open that blank. Now you know what you're going to be making your comparison to, right? Grief or marriage or love or any abstract word, innocence, justice, and then friendship. Then you look around you and truly anything, window, floor, doorknob, the pond, ice cube, anything at all. I make a list of its properties. I tell myself, write like 8 things about its properties. Then I make a list of its uses or its purposes or what does it do. And then I ask it, what do you have to teach me? It doesn't always answer, and certainly it's more intuitive, right? It's not like ice cubes aren't really talking to me, but I intuit what would the ice cube have to say? What would the doorknob have to say? And in this way, the whole world opens up. And every time this happens, it's exciting. And there are so many ways that this has such practical application for us. First of all, if you think I couldn't possibly do this, yes, you can, because if you speak language, all language is metaphor. Every single language, all languages are all metaphor. So that's the start of it. But also to notice that the things that come out of our mouths. For instance, I remember so clearly saying to my teacher, and this was before my son died, that I was trying to become a vase that could hold it all. I could hold all of the feelings. I could hold the sorrow and the joy and the frustration and the bliss and all of it. And she said to me, "Are you sure you need to hold it?" This was beautiful, right? In this moment, this idea that I was a vase, I realized it had become a containing idea that was not serving me, because it wasn't easy to hold it. I was being stretched. It was too much. But this idea of being a sieve, right? To just let it all come through. And suddenly there was nothing I couldn't meet, because it would meet me and come through. Yeah. And so just notice how changing the metaphor doesn't change the world, but it changes how we meet the world, which changes everything.
Yeah. That's true. I was just thinking, I was on a tangent in my mind thinking of the vase, and then you brought up sieve, which was beautiful. And I was trying to think of the vase like we think that it has to be in the vase. I was trying to think of the vase like in an ocean, or the vase like upside down, hollow bamboo. I was going on. I was staying with the vase. I was so stuck with the vase, and I was trying to see, but it's true. It's like, what if, the marriage is whatever. It could be the vase, it could be the sieve, it could be the window, it could be, what happens for me always when I write like this is that what's so beautiful is empathy comes in, and we feel such appreciation for suddenly the quality of different people or things, like even the ladder. Suddenly we see it in not just a utilitarian way, but we suddenly see like, wow, it holds me. It creates a safety when I'm climbing up into the attic, or like just little things. Your world becomes richer, because we all know that our rooms are filled and our life is filled with thousands of little things that we forget to pay attention to. And suddenly there we are standing with the fork, or, whatever. And we're like, okay, whatever. My heart is, is like this fork. And then we're like, how is it? Like, it lifts up people and whatever. It's fascinating. Yeah. So do you have any, are you already working on your next book? Or are you just happy to relax that this one is out and people are calling you and celebrating you and doing all that good stuff?
Oh, I just started talking about a new book with my editor just last week, so that's exciting. I would say that right now there's no form. There's all kinds of little seeds that have been planted. But for me, Kara, the greatest joy is just writing daily poems, and a book isn't the point. I mean, I love having a book, and I actually really love this book and how it turned out, and the structure with all the praise, and there's a hidden structure inside it too around the powers of the universe, as Brian Swim delineates them. I think a very exciting secret inside that book. But the truth is that it's the showing up and creating the poems in a daily way. The poems themselves, I feel like, are byproducts of the real practice, which is just showing up with wonder. What's here? Letting myself be steeped in mystery and not figuring it out. And
saying yes
through the stories and saying yes to the next thing. What's the next true thing? What's the next true thing?
Nibbling on your little surrender drops. Yeah, exactly.
Nibbling on the surrender drops.
So, Rosemerry, I want to thank you so much for being here with us today, and your wisdom and all your poetry, and guiding us all to stay inspired to start our own writing practice. And, it's one thing to be surrounded by beautiful poetry books, but it's another thing really to start that own practice of figuring out our authentic voice. And for all the listeners out there, please share this episode with your friends. And the next show we're going to have on a sound healer, Roslana Remenikova. So such a name. It's a beautiful name. And she's going to talk about actually how we can activate our DNA through sound and through music and through light. And so thank you. Thank you, Rosemerry, for being with me. I send you much love. Yeah. Bye-bye. And blessings for this holiday season, right?
Blessings.